Alright, hello, what's up? I'm here today with a deck profile. Over the weekend, I played at the Dan's Ranch Trails event with this deck. I played 8 standby Data Live, and I went undefeated throughout the entire event. Unfortunately, my team lost in top 8, but overall, it was a good event, well run, very smooth. I had a lot of fun, and I just wanted to share my list. I'll probably post this to my city's Weiss blog, Wild Wild Weiss. Check them out. I'll have the link in the description. Yeah. So let's get off to the deck profile. So starting off, we have 4 of the TD Toka. So it's all play 2 effects. You could top check if character hand fix, or you could discard a character to draw a card. This is the best starter card in the entire deck if you play 8 standby, so you have to play 4. A lot of times, like, you don't open your 1/1 targets to discard for your standby triggers, so you can find them off this, or you can draw them off your mulligan, discard them with this turn 1 because it doesn't cost any stock, and it lets you like dig down and like see your triggers. It can help you draw like CX's late game. So yeah, definitely one of the best cards in the deck. Have to play 4. And then next we have 4 of the drop salvage Kotori. I think you should play this card at least at like 3. I'm playing 4, but it's just a very good profile. It helps you get stuff back from your waiting room, especially all your one-ups and stuff. So really good for hand fixing. It can pump something power to get over stuff. And even if you don't use the drop salvage effect, a lot of times mid game or late game, I just play this to look at the top 2 cards of my deck, and it just lets you make better informed decisions throughout the game. Then the 3 of the Toga Brainstorm, you can play 4. I will play 3 because I find it like I can see it pretty consistently. I don't need to play 4, and you only really need 1 in your hand to like play a cycle for your standby stuff. So just 3. Then next 2 of the Origami Climax Swappers. So I'll pay 1, discard a Climax, take a Climax for your waiting room. So it's green color fix mainly, and late game sometimes it's hard to find the Kurumi CX, so it's good to have this in your deck. Especially if you have like multiple turns where you want to combo off, or it just like sometimes lets you play more aggressively with your standby triggers at level 2. So instead of like holding onto a Kurumi CX the entire time, if you're going into a refresh, you can like get a better refresh by aggressively playing your Kurumi CX, and then if you have this, like whichever CX you find next turn, you can like get the Kurumi CX back, right? So it's really good. You could just play 1, but when I play 1 of this, like sometimes it just gets stuck in level clock or stock or something, and then like I can't find it off the brainstorm or whatever. So I just like having 2. It's more accessible. And then next is kind of like my tech card for the event. So it's this Shido. It's a bit clunky in the deck. What it does is you can rest it and then give a character 500 power, and that character also gains when it reverses the opponent character. You could send the top card of their clock to the waiting room, then send that character to clock. So because you're playing a tap 2 brainstorm, right? Like sometimes it's clunky playing with this because you want to brainstorm, but then if you tap this, you can't use the effect. So you either don't brainstorm, which is sometimes okay, or you have to like tap something else and then you lose the card. But this actually came up a lot during the event over the weekend because I just think it's really good into the metagame where there's so many like all reverse memory cards, and when you're playing against other standby decks, you can like remove their threats and they can't encore it. So like I played against Slime twice, I played against Saikado and Dakapo, and this card just let me like remove a lot of their memory cards and stall their game plan. Like I played against Slime twice and they literally couldn't win because I would just remove their 1/0s, they couldn't get EP condition, and then they can't remove any of my threats on my board. So they just fell really behind, and they could try to stall late game with their heals, but this deck is also very good at late game grinding, so it's just a very nice meta card, tech card for the meta game. Don't have to play it, obviously. It's 4 green fix. You can play the Yoshino drop salvage if you want more green as well. Like I said, it can be a bit clunky, but it did definitely came up a lot over the weekend. And then the last level 0 I'm playing is this yellow Kirby promo. So on play you can shuffle 2 characters from your waiting room back into the deck, and then you can side attack with this without soul penalty, and you can on attack you can pump something 50-100. Just helps you get over some things. Sometimes I level it if I need yellow in my clock to play yellow stuff, but yeah, it's not that important. You can cut it for something else if you want, like a 4th brainstorm. I think it's nice to have. It's good in standby mirrors and whatnot. And that's 16 level 0s. Then for level 1s, I have 4 of the 7/5 Kurumi with hand on core 1/1, just your standard standby target. You want to maximize on this so you don't brick, because you want to get it into the waiting room as soon as possible. Then next we have 2 of these 1/1 Yushinos. This card was also really MVP in most of my games, especially after the ban list, where you can't play the 1/0 Toka anymore. Even before the ban list, I was a big fan of this card. So it's a 1/1 anti-change bottom deck bomb, and then start of your opponent's battle phase, you can pay 1, stand this card and another one of your characters and swap their positions. So it lets you control the board and answer your opponent's early plays and stuff, as well as protect your 2/2s and whatnot. Yeah, so you could hard play this if you have blue. You can also stand by it in, and usually just keep it in the back. Like if you have this and a brainstorm, you just keep it rested for brainstorm, and then during opponent's turn, if they have 2/2s at level 1 or if they EP at level 2, you can just use this to block their aggression. And then the last standby target is this 1/1 Toka. I'm only playing 1 because it's good in some matchups but not others, and I don't want to like brick on it, because like if you see this in standby mirror, it's like absolutely useless after level 0. So just playing the 1 extra standby target. And then 2 1/0 2K backups. I mean, they came up sometimes, but they weren't amazing. Like I don't think this is like the greatest card in the deck. Honestly, you could probably cut it for other stuff if you want. But I mean, costless backups have their use. And a lot of times, like it's red, I just played it as like a costless body so I could attack with. And then if I trigger standby, I just put something over it. And then for level 2s, that's all the level 1s I'm playing. I'm just playing 3 of this 2/2 Kurumi as standby target. You could play 4 if you want. I found 3 was like consistent enough. There weren't like many times where I wanted more. Like I think there was only one game where I triggered a standby and I didn't have any level 2s in my waiting room because I already had 1 on board and 1 was in my clock. But it's not a big deal. Even if you play 4, it doesn't guarantee that you always have multiple targets. I like this Kurumi over the blue Toka for now, just because it has hand on core, so you don't get cheesed as hard by some things. Like if someone beats over this, you just hand on core it, and then you have it for your next turn. Whereas the Toka, you really like need the backups or like the Yoshino to kind of protect it. But obviously, the Tokas are still viable. Up to you. I just like the consistency that these provide. And then for the remaining level 2s, 2 of this Kurumi Free Fetch backup. You gotta play 2, I think. It comes up so much. It just gets you out of bad deck states. It can save you late game, pay out stock and whatnot. Like if you trigger a bunch of standbys, you make your board, and then you can like refresh with this and get yourself out of like a sticky situation. So yeah, very good card. And then for level 3s, I'm playing 1 of this Kirby. It's probably like your best like standby target at 2, I would say, other than the back row Kotori, just because you can use the effect without having the Kirby CX, and it's really good for a follow-up. So like if you're going to your Kurumi combo and there's no guarantee that you'll get your CX back next turn, you can get this off your standby and it's CX-less finisher. Plus the memory kit comes up sometimes if you want to remove opponent threats, and it just gets really fat. So It's nice, but expensive. Then one copy of the Toka Early Play Healer. I don't actually play this that much, so I'm only playing one. You could play two, and cut the next card I'm playing, but if you want it, you can always get it off the Kotori Drop Salvage. It's easy to access. I just find a lot of times it's like unnecessary. It's alright. And then I'm playing one of the TD Toka Finisher. I think this is like really good in the deck. It's not an amazing standby target, although you can still like burn with it if you standby it in. But if you play it from hand, it gets 4/5 power until end of opponent's turn. Yeah, 4/5, and then either player can play backups in the battle, and then on reverse pay 2 burn 1. Because this deck doesn't really need a lot of stock to function, so this is a really good stock dump if you just have like a lot of stock built up. And it's also 14/5, so like it's really hard for opponents to like beat this, especially if it's like behind a Kotori and just like wall off. Like I played against Saikano, I had 2 Kotori back row, 2 Kurumi, and then 1 of this, and like they couldn't reverse anything for their finisher, so it was just like really sad for them. Yeah, so 3/1 of level 3s, and then your standard 2 of Kotori back rows, assist 2k. I don't really play this from hand that often, although you could. It does come up, I guess, but most of the time just standby target. And then obviously for Kurumi finishers, because it's the best choice on the ban list for standby builds, obviously. Maybe that could change when the new set comes out and we get more Kirby cards. Maybe there's like more finishers and stuff in there, but yeah, best choice for now. The reason why she's really broken is I think she's just good into all kinds of deck states, right? If your opponent's like easily compressed, you could stock swap them. If your opponent has a couple cards in deck and a big waiting room, you can shuffle cards back and get a bunch of guaranteed damage. And you can also ditch 2 to burn 3, although that is expensive, so you most likely will be like spamming the burn 3 effect. One problem this card does have is it doesn't push like as much damage as some other finishers, because being off a standby trigger, unless you're swinging into empty slots, you're only fronting opponents for 2, unless you crit, obviously. And then like I said, the burn 3 is expensive, so most of the time you only do like 1 or 2 burn 3s, so it doesn't like actually like one shot your opponent from like level 2 or something that often. Not that that should be happening that often, but like it's just a very consistent finisher. And then finally 3 of the green minus soul event. Yeah, it's really important to play this. I feel it like won me at least 3 of my games. Like I didn't even play these finishers, honestly. Like they were in my waiting room a lot of games, or I like didn't trigger any standby triggers. But I just like use this to protect myself, and then I would push with like maybe 1 of this Kirby, or like maybe with this Toka, or maybe like this Kirby, and it would be enough for game. So I think what advantage this deck has over a lot of other standby decks is, although it's not like huge in the power department, it has a lot of defensive tools like the free fresh and like this event to help win the grind games. So yeah. And then for climaxes, for vanilla Toka triggers, you could play like the 2/1 climax combo, but I don't feel it's necessary. So just 4 vanilla triggers, and then 4 of the Kirby CX. Right. So thanks for watching. Again, check out Wild Weiss blog. I'll have the link down below, and I'll be posting on that blog. Hope everyone else that attended the event had fun, and yeah, peace.